Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
That sound means it's time for Cavs on the Break NBA podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network. I am your host, Chase Smith, and with me, as he was last night, he covers your Cleveland Cavaliers for Sports Illustrated, the one, the only Sam Amico. Sam, the Cavs making moves at the trade deadline. What's up, man?
Yeah, they made a move that I think nobody saw coming. And you know what, Chase, before we get started, I should probably mention that we're having podcasts on back-to-back. It's a back-to-back podcast, and I'm at the age now where I should probably rest on the second night of a back-to-back.
Load management. We'll make sure to get that under wraps.
Yeah. But anyway, I don't think anybody saw the trade coming. Andre Drummond from the Pistons. We all knew that Drummond was available, but we never heard anything about the talks involving the Cavs and the Pistons until, maybe an hour before the deadline on Thursday afternoon.
So let's set the scene. The Cavs do not trade Kevin Love. They do not trade Tristan Thompson. Put a cap on that. We'll table that for a moment. The Cavaliers trade for Andre Drummond, and they traded away Brandon Knight, John Henson, and a second-round pick in an NBA landscape where the Rockets has traded away a center. They're going small ball. They're all in on small ball, but the Cavs have zigged where the league has zagged. They're stockpiling centers. What is the mindset behind this trade? Were the Cavs browsing on Craigslist and they found an unpassable deal they had to make, or is there really more behind that than this?
I don't know the answer to that for sure. It's very 1990s style where it's, you've got Drummond and Tristan and Kevin Love and Larry Nance Jr. And, now you have, like you said, where the rest of the league has played small ball, this is a very big lineup, big front court that the Cavs have. And, Drummond is
very girthy. He's one of the best bigs in the East. I mean, undeniable.
Yeah. And he leads the league in rebounding. And the Cavs have two very good rebounders already in Tristan and Kevin Love. And Larry Nance Jr. does a nice job rebounding too. So it's going to be interesting to me. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. And only because, look, if this were 1995, you wouldn't even question this trade because you can't have enough big guys. But now the league has gone to where your bigs are supposed to be able to shoot, if not threes, at least from the perimeter. And you don't really want Tristan or Drummond shooting from beyond 5 to 7 feet away from the hoop. So it's an interesting dynamic that they have. Now I think that Drummond's a pretty good passer. A lot of people don't give him credit for that, but he's a pretty good passer. And that should enable him and Kevin Love to connect a little bit, him finding Kevin Love out on the perimeter for those jumpers. So it's just an interesting dynamic. What is Coach John Beilein going to do with Drummond and Tristan Thompson? Are you going to tell Tristan Thompson, now you're coming off the bench for a 13-39 team because we couldn't trade you? Or, there's a lot of things that are very delicate about this. That you're going to have to get around. And obviously we have the contract situation with both Tristan, whose contract's expiring at the end of the year, and Drummond, who has a player option for about $29 million at the end of the year. There's a lot of things to think about and to how they're going to make this work. But Chase, you just said who the Cavs gave away, and John Henson and Brandon Knight are nice guys, but you could have just waived them and no one would have noticed.
Why not make this trade? Why not? That's why I'm like, you're right. Browsing the internet. You're browsing the internet. You're on Craigslist, eBay. You're out shopping. You see something on clearance or like a deal you can't pass up. Like, why not add an Andre Drummond to your team? Why not? Figure it out later. Add him now. Figure it out later.
Exactly. Well, especially because you gave up two guys who were going to be gone in the next three, and. It's almost like Kobe Altman called as a joke and said, "Hey, we'll give you John Henson, Brandon Knight, and a second rounder for Andre Drummond," and the Pistons went, "Okay," and he was shock. Now I don't know how that's worked, but you really truly have nothing to lose in this situation.
So I want to give Kobe Altman a little more credit than maybe what I'm giving him. Could it be possible, Sam, that he's playing a little 4D chess and realizing that maybe the 2021 free agency list isn't as desirable as they wanted, or kind of looking at, hey, we don't think TT is going to be back next year. Why not get the guy that we probably wouldn't be able to get in free agency? He's not going to choose here. Let's trade for him now, being able to offer him the most later and see if we can't get something going. Are they kind of looking at it that way? I mean, and that's not a bad idea for like a market team that struggles to get star power.
Right. You're probably not going to get very many free agents, in Cleveland. If you do, you're going to have to overpay guys who probably aren't deserving. I shouldn't say deserving, but aren't, the type of players that you want to pay that much. But that's just the way Cleveland is. The Cavaliers have to have the majority of their success through the draft and through trades. That's the two ways that they are going to be able to acquire real talent and, like you said, star power. Okay. So, Andre Drummond is a guy who you look at him and you're right. He's not probably going to come to Cleveland on his own when he is able to decide where he wants to go. At least not if he left Detroit. Now, he's probably going to pick up. It's widely expected he'll pick up that player option. A lot of people around the league don't think he'll opt out. He'll pick up that player option and still be 27 or right around 27 years old when he hits free agency. Not next season, but not this coming summer, but the summer after. So, Chase, to me, it's you look at it and you say, why not? Why not? Granted, it would have been better if they'd been able to trade Tristan maybe for some more wing players or something, but they weren't able to do that and mostly a first round pick, but they weren't able to do that. So if this trade's there, you make it every day of the week and twice on Sunday. And I think you're exactly right. You figure it out. You figure it out and see how it works and see how it goes. And if it doesn't go the way you want it, then you got to make more changes. But at least this is worth a shot.
So what does this mean? Let's kind of look at the domino effect here. What does this mean for Kevin Love and Tristan Thompson? They have Andre Drummond now taking their minutes, sharing the front court. What does this mean for them?
Yeah, that's the question of the year. And I'm sure we'll be asking John Beilein that tomorrow. I don't know if Kobe Altman's going to be available, but, John Beilein will be and some of the players. So there are a lot of questions that are unanswered, Chase. I don't know. I don't think it impacts Kevin Love that much because,
more of a power forward center, more
power role but there's going to be times, where they're going to probably play Drummond and Tristan together, and you have confidence in Tristan. I will say he takes great pride in his ability to defend guards when he gets switched out or smaller players. When the Cavs played the Lakers, guess who guarded LeBron? It was Tristan. So, is he a small forward? No, but you have to look at it from a defensive standpoint. And Tristan's going to be the one guy who, out of those three, Drummond, Love, and Tristan, who can go out and defend players on the perimeter a little bit. So, I wish I had the answers of what they're going to do or what their plans are, but I think that you've added to your front court, you've protected yourself, in terms of how you're going to lose Tristan in the off season probably. And there are a number of things that can happen there. They're probably going to try to work out a sign and trade so they don't lose him for nothing. But I think that there's possibilities with this line. I do want to see him play the Rockets, Chase. I want to see the Cavs play Kevin Love, Andre Drummond, Tristan Thompson, Larry Nance all on the floor at the same time against the Rockets and see how it goes. Because the Cavs will get every rebound. That's all I know. You just got to hope the Rockets miss.
Yeah, so you don't think they're going to buy out Tristan Thompson?
It's not, it's not sounding that way. I don't know if they would want to do that because they feel like, we could probably do something in a sign and trade for Tristan this offseason. Don't forget, this is not viewed as a good offseason upcoming for free agents.
Yep.
So, that enhances your chances of somebody else agreeing, Tristan, say, agreeing to a contract with the Phoenix Suns or Dallas Mavericks. And then if you're the Cavs, you say, you know what, let's do a sign and trade so that we can get something back for Tristan instead of losing him for nothing. And I'll tell you what, I don't know how they're going to do it. They probably aren't going to, they're not going to tie up a lot of money with Tristan, I don't think. But I think that there's a possibility.
Braun's not here to broker his deal this time, so I don't know what they're going
to. They'll probably talk extension. I really doubt that it gets anywhere, but they could talk extension.
Okay, so if you are Darius Garland, if you're Kevin Porter Jr., if you're Colin Sexton, what does this trade tell you?
Yeah, for one, it gives them somebody to protect the rim while these guys are improving defensively, hopefully improving defensively, if you're Garland and Sexton, and particularly those two, who they have not been that great defensively. And in some instances, that's the kind version of it. But you get beat, and now you got Andre Drummond behind you. Before, you didn't really have a rim protector behind you when you were those young guards. So, mostly that's going to benefit them defensively. I also think it'll help open things up for them a little bit offensively. Don't forget, Drummond's averaging, what is it, close to 18 points a game, not to mention 16 rebounds. And I think that really helps you offensively. It's not like he's just some big oaf standing there in the middle of offense. He can make things happen. He can catch lobs. He's got size. He draws fouls. His free throw shooting has gotten better.
Yes.
That makes a really good big guy like that can make life easier for the guards. It really can, just all the way around, especially defensively, but also on offense. For instance, Colin Sexton, a lot of times he'll drive and three guys will collapse on him. Well, now he can feed it down, ideally, theoretically, feed it down to Drummond, and he's getting a dunk, So there are a lot of ways that he could benefit those young players. And I think that's probably part of the reason, a very underrated reason, why the Cavs made that deal, because now you have a big guy who's going to make the guards feel a little more confident, a little more protected should they mess up.
And you mentioned at our pod last night, the Cavs have to pay somebody. They're going to have to pay somebody. So why not Andre Drummond? Why not have this anchor for your team? I mean, do you think he resigns with the team? You think he picks up that player option, right? I mean, we'll be able to offer him the most money is kind of what this comes down to.
Well, I will say everybody I've talked to across the league feels like, he's going to pick up that option. Now, he could opt out, but he's not going to get $29 million next season in a league that is, we just said, is going smaller in many ways. And the big guy, unless you can shoot threes, normally doesn't get paid $29 million, So there is the possibility he could opt out and try to get a longer deal where he's making $14 million a year for 5 years, or for 3 or 4 years. And maybe he goes that route, but I doubt it. I think that not even so much me thinking it is across the league, people are like, he's not going to opt out of a $29 million contract. So, and guess what, Chase? If he does, so what? I mean, you traded John Henson and Brandon Knight for him. I mean, that's one thing to consider. Is it's like you've got nothing to lose here. So, you were not going to have those guys in 3 or 4 months anyway, and you got a guy who is a borderline type of all-star.
Definitely. And
but he is.
I have bad news. You might be buying me McDonald's dollar menu meal, Sam. I think we might hit that over 25 wins.
Yeah, they don't want to get too far over. It might mean seriously a few more wins. And now that you're 13 and 39, you don't want to get too high up there because you don't want to hurt your lottery chances. At the same time, I think last year, what were the Pelicans, number 9 in the lottery, and Memphis was 8, and they were 1 and 2.
The Lakers were high as well.
Yeah, Oh, that doesn't really matter with this new lottery system as much.
Yep. So the Cavs trade for Andre Drummond. We will see what happens. And I like the trade. My friends, I was teaching at a college, so I didn't see it breaking. Did you break it, Sam?
No, I don't break news as much anymore, Chase, as I kind of chase news. But no, I think it was Adrian Wojnarowski, which is not a surprise. He's he's the king and good guy to boot. But yeah. So anyway, go ahead with your story. I'll tell you what. When I saw it, I was just like, "Wait a minute, what is that right?"
Yeah. I had to read it like 3 or 4 times. I'm like, wait a second, what happened? They thought the trade was hilarious because we traded nothing for him. But then they thought that, well, he's not going to stay in Cleveland, so why do it anyway? They're a bunch of Cleveland haters anyway. I don't really care about them, even though they're my best friends. But
You're
no, I love those guys. But yeah, I mean, it definitely kind of caught the league's attention for a little bit. I mean, they kind of like, whoa, wait, what happened? And Cleveland once again inserting themselves into this narrative, which I kind of like. Hey, like Cleveland's here, man. Like, just we still got a team. We're going to make some noise. Like, we need some respect.
I thought that they needed to do something, and I
Uh,
said that last podcast. I think if you remember that they need to do something, and they need to do something to generate some buzz. Well, there were a lot of trades and some good ones. Obviously, the Clippers getting Marcus Morris and D'Angelo Russell and Andrew Wiggins, being swapped for each other. But I was driving today around 5 o'clock and had on NBA radio on Sirius XM, and they were talking about the Cavs trade. It was Eddie Johnson and Justin Truman, and they were talking about the Andre Drummond trade. Now, I'm sure they addressed the others, but just happened when I was driving. They were talking about that. They talked about it a lot. And, both of them liked it for the Cavs for the same reasons we did. It's like they basically got Andre Drummond for nothing. It was like getting him in free agency. So you bring him in, you see how it goes, and maybe everybody ends up happy, and you find a guy who is a good fit and, helps you win games down the road.
And one other thing I think we can't overlook, one of the fastest ways to change a culture and to get people on your side is to bring in new faces, as they don't know any different. Right now, I know that this is a veteran who has played for NBA coaches, but he never played in Cleveland. He, not a part of the whole beeline, first part of the season. He's a new, fresh face. Is going to come in. He's going to inject life. I bet, Sam, we'll see the first couple games, the team playing hard. I bet we're going to see that kind of inspired team that we saw the first half of the season. I really, the first half of the season.
Right.
Or the first week of the first half of the first half, like that very little window we had. Like, I think that this could inject some new life into this team. I really do. And I think we might be able to make a run. I don't know. Am I crazy to think that? I know he's not like the answer to all of our problems, but he's good.
No. Yeah, no, I'll tell you this. I hope so for the fans' sake that and for the Cavs' sake that they, that there is some life injected into the franchise for this, headed into the All-Star break and post All-Star break and mostly next season. Again, I talked about this last night. You don't want to go through another year like this next year. You want to see, the progress in the wins column next year. I mean, how many years are you going to keep playing a lottery? You don't want to run into becoming the Sacramento Kings or the New York Knicks where you're just playing it year after thankless year. You want to show progress, and you want the fans to get excited with the team that's on the floor. So I think this is a good start. I know a lot of people are like, Andre Drummond, the Pistons stunk. What was he really doing there? But I just think that this is a good start. This guy needed a change of scenery. The Cavs needed something to inject some life into the franchise. And, they're going to take it from here. It's like, look, we got the guy for nothing. Let's try and see what, how he works with Tristan and Love and Larry Nance and our guards. And, I just think it was absolutely positively worth a shot. And
Yep.
I think Cavs fans will come to like him real fast because he is a beast. He really is. If you don't watch him a lot, you're going to find out he is a monster.
I don't think it changes the scales in our game against the Clippers on Sunday. I think
Probably not.
it moves the line a little bit, maybe makes that a little smaller. I do think it tilts us in the favor of the Hawks, even though they just traded for Capella. I don't know, Sam. I'm all excited again about the Cavs. Let's go, man. Let's do it.
Well, see, you're already pumped
I'm
up.
all in.
Hey, that's what you're aiming for. That's part of what you're aiming for at the deadline is intrigue. And they've definitely created some. Again, Kobe Altman has made a lot of trades during his tenure where nobody saw coming. And I said that last night, that if he does make something, it's probably something we're not even going to see coming. And here it was again. So, hey, you know what? Roll the ball out, see how it goes, and take it from there, because you've left yourself enough options with this trade, moving forward in terms of salaries and all that stuff. You've left yourself enough options that at the end of the year, if you look at this and say, man, that didn't work at all, well, so what? You gave up John Henson and Brandon Knight, and you knew you were going to have to make some moves anyway, especially after not being able to trade Tristan or Love.
Yep. Well, that does it for this Cavs on the Break NBA podcast trade recap edition. Thank you so much for downloading and listening. Follow us on Twitter at Cavs on the Break. We always follow back. Shouts to the Press Play Podcast Network for making this possible, and Sports Illustrated for allowing Sam to join us. Follow Sam on Twitter at Amico Hoops. Get all of his work and writings on Sports Illustrated. Catch his analysis, player quotes, interviews, insider info. Do not miss out. Sam, any final thoughts, brother?
One real quick thought. I'll make it as quick as possible. I run a Cavaliers website on Sports Illustrated, right?
Yes, sir.
But I also aggregate content from other teams, okay? Just like I used to do on Amico Hoops. And I did that at the trade deadline. And number one, I want to thank the readers, because it was a record day for myself in terms of anything whether I was writing for Fox or Amico Hoops or Sports Illustrated. This was far and away, in terms of page views, the most read of all time. Okay, I'll say that's number one. Number two, Chase, my top 7 stories on the website, none of them were about the Cavs. So I need Cavs fans to step up and and start reading those stories, because I don't want to have to cover every team.
What was the top story?
But I will do it for the page views. So
what was the top story?
The top story, believe it or not, was Wiggins getting traded for D'Angelo Russell. Now, sometimes that's not necessarily the fault of the readers. Sometimes that gets picked up by like Bleacher Report. And then if Bleacher Report links back to my site, then it's going to triple the page views on that story, no matter what it is. But for the past 3 or 4 days, all of our stories have, top 3 or 4 anyway, have been about other trades, other teams, and stuff like that. I was surprised today the Andre Drummond trade wasn't 1, but it was 8. So we just, and I think a lot of that too is it's so covered so much that, maybe people just want to read the tweet or something and then move on to a different story. But either way, I'm very grateful. And I know Cavs fans are reading those other stories about those other teams. I'm very grateful for the readers that I do have. And I just want to say thanks for to everyone for following along, and especially, not just the website, but the podcast and everything else, because I'm a sports writer. I don't count, and
it's all well deserved. You work incredibly hard, do incredible work, and I thought the number one story was going to be our podcast, but alas, you break my heart once again, Sam. It's okay.
Hey, you know what? Everything was so well read. That's the nice thing is, everything. Podcast was more well listened to than most of the stuff I write during the week. That's not trade deadline stuff. So, we're up there. It's probably my voice. I sound like Kermit the Frog. That probably.
No. Well, you're great, Sam. Well deserved. Thank you so much for listening, downloading, and reading. Mike Breen, take us out.
Congratulations, Cleveland. Your decades-long wait is finally over. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.